Hey guys, it's Kevin and this is my review for Shameless, Season 5, Episode 11, Drugs Actually, and this episode, I have to say, this season, as you guys know, I've been very back and forth with, but last week's episode was great, and this week's episode was even better. This was by far the best episode of the season. It really was. I loved everything about this episode. It really felt like classic Shameless, and honestly, the direction we're headed, this could end up being as good as Season 4, and I really love that they're starting to fix everything that was wrong with Season 5, so let's just get in this episode because it was amazing, and we're going to start off talking about Frank and Bianca, because Frank and Bianca, I love what they're doing with Frank and Bianca, because it always seems like Frank is the one that ruins these relationships, but it actually is Bianca who is actually crazier in this. In fact, Frank, you could even say, is the straight man in this episode, while Bianca's a little bit more crazy. Basically, as we know, Bianca's dying of cancer, and she wants everything to go great for her. She wants to continue having a great life till the very end, and she's actually just making bad decisions. She buys a $10,000 bottle of whiskey, reasoning that she won't be alive to pay off her credit card debt, and she does crazy shit throughout the entire episode. In fact, she's drinking around the edge of a rooftop, dangerously close to peril, and almost knocking Frank to the ground, which is pretty crazy. And not only does she do that, but she even insists that Frank have sex with her on an active train track, narrowly off the rails, with just milliseconds separating. They're having sex on a train track, which is pretty crazy, I have to say, and it's a pretty crazy scene to watch. But it's almost too much for Frank, who I thought it was interesting to see how Frank would handle this. I mean, you could see that Frank really cares about Bianca, and there are points where he's worried about making these bad decisions, and this is Frank we're talking about, Frank who's made all these bad decisions, but I like that Frank is starting to take control of his life and realizing, you know what, there are some limits in life, and he's basically in his vow to support Bianca. He's only doing this to support Bianca's death wish, because he wants to stick with her till the very end and be with her, and it almost kills him, because he screams, part of feeling alive is being alive, and I thought that was a great line that he said, and Bianca thought they were on the same page, her being a time bomb, and him an aging alcoholic, but Frank forces her to recalibrate, and they come to an understanding that Frank doesn't have to indulge in all of Bianca's choices, but that doesn't stop Frank from feeling like she shouldn't be making them, because basically, Bianca tears through her vices while ignoring her family's and Frank's desire to intervene, and she decides to get crack, and she's cheering, and suddenly she's lighting a pipe in Frank's bedroom, despite his concern that crack wreaks havoc on an immune system than, say, light weed. They smoke and have sex, but when they wake in the morning, Bianca's family arrives in Frank's bedroom because Frank, in a high stuber, texted them from Bianca's phone to come pick her up, and Bianca is pissed at what Frank did. I mean, she's furious at what he did, and even though Frank explains that he did this out of love, I love that she says to him that she's not in love with him, even though he wants to be in love with her, that she's not in love with him, and you can see that he's facing genuine heartbreak here, which I love seeing, because I don't think we've ever really seen Frank face genuine heartbreak, and she says she's going to Costa Rica, and Frank slowly realizes that he's not going with her. At first he thinks he's going with her, but he soon realizes that he's not going with her, and it seems like it's all over between them, until he chases her down as she gets into the taxi, waving his passport, and insisting that he get into the cab with her. He wants to do whatever he can to stay with her, and while I think this is a great idea, what he wants to do and wants to help her, I just don't know if he can really do this. I don't know if he should be helping her, and we'll have to see what happens there. But that was an amazing plot. I love where that is headed, and I thought overall that was amazing. I love what they did with that, and I love that Frank is finally realizing that, the thing about this plot is that Frank truly does love Bianca. He's in love with her, he cares about her, but she just isn't in love with him, it seems. It seems like she's just in it for the sex and the drugs and things like that, and also her sister hinted that she should not be with Frank because she's worried that he's going to give her AIDS. She's going to get away from cancer and he'll give her AIDS because of her having sex and everything. So I really like where they're going with that, and I think it's really well done. But let's get to the big stuff in this episode. It had to do with Fiona and Ian. Now, Fiona and Ian, I love what they did with this plot, because Fiona's so upset about having to go visit Ian in prison that she actually breaks a glass in her hand in a panic. Luckily, Sean's there to clean her up and drive her, and the Gallagher's to... In fact, there's this great scene where she's just panicking constantly, and I love these two together. I really love what Sean's doing for her. He's there for her. He genuinely cares for her, and I honestly would love to see Fiona and Sean together. I know that Gus is away, but it's kind of over between them, so Fiona and Sean, I'd be great with seeing them together. In fact, there's a scene in next week's promo where we see Fiona telling Shawn that she truly cares about him and that she thinks she's in love with him. I personally would love to see those two get together. So Shawn drives her and all the Gallaghers to northern Chicago to see Ian, and Ian's been charged with getting AWOL and destroying federal property, and as the investigating officer explains to everyone in the room at the military base, that basically that's what's happened to him. So Mickey, Lip, Debbie, and Fiona and Ian are sitting at the head of a table as the officer determines whether Ian will face a court material, and suddenly everyone is offering up their own version of Ian's bipolar tendencies, and I really love this scene because it shows what everyone thinks of it. In fact, Lip puts it pretty simple, where one second he's normal, but the next second he's just not him, and it's been this way for a while. It's actually a very heartbreaking scene. It was very well done the way they did that, and I overall just thought that was really well done. So basically, for Mickey, for what it's worth, doesn't say anything, and I think it's just because he doesn't want to. He's just really upset about what's going on. I mean, he was helping Ian, and now Ian's stuck here, and he's really upset about this. So as we know, Ian has not accepted his diagnosis, and is particularly angry whenever his family compares him to his mother. However, we actually see Monica in this episode, which I love seeing Monica, because I love what Monica says to Ian. It's actually revealed that he's actually stayed in touch with Monica this entire time, which I thought was an amazing twist when we found that out, because all season, everyone's been comparing him to Monica, but now we see that he actually sympathizes with Monica, and he thinks Monica's a good person, and he trusts Monica, and basically she reminds Ian how much she loves him, and she encourages him to surround himself with people who can accept him for who he is, rather than try to change him. And I really do see her point here. I do, but here's the thing. Ian's not himself right now, and Monica isn't much better. So these are both crazy people talking, and basically it's a big surprise here. Ian realized that even Mickey has turned into one of those people that can't really accept him for who he is, and it's a huge surprise when we find out that Fiona actually finds out that Ian actually has been released into Monica's custody, turning the tables on Ian's escape with the baby, and now Ian's been carted around by an unstable caretaker. So not only has that happened, but now he's been taken away by Monica, and there's no telling what could happen there. And I thought that was an amazing cliffhanger, and I can't wait to see where that goes in the season finale. I can't wait for that. So, however, most of the episode during this time, Fiona's been getting most of her emotional support from Shawn, whom she was there for when he went through hard times, losing his wife and son, so he's there for her. And basically, Gus then calls, though, and lets her know that his tour is canceled and he's coming home. And he's excited to see Fiona, but she's not happy. In fact, she tells Gus that she has nothing to report, when in fact she has 1,000 things to tell him. She doesn't want him to know what's going on in her life anymore, because she simply doesn't seem to care. But Shawn cooks for her, dances with her, accepts all her family's chaos, and in tune with everything in her life, Shawn knows what she has to report, and Shawn even transports her to and from the drama. He even knows how self-destructive she can be when it comes to relationships, but he's there to take on the risk regardless, and that's the happy ending she should be seeking. But she can't fully cut the cord from Gus, because it seems like, he still cares about her. So now Shawn's in her life, though, and she really needs to choose, does she want to be with Gus or does she want to be with Shawn? I personally feel that it should be Shawn, but as we know, it could be bad being with Shawn, because of course, he has drug problems, things like that, while Gus is just away all the time. Either way, it's not the best thing for her, and it's really sad overall, and I really like where that's headed, so I'm very interested in seeing where that's going to go. And now that Ian's with Monica, I don't know what's going to happen there, but as we know, Monica really can't take care of Ian. She thinks she can, but she can't take care of Ian. She's not a good caretaker. She's unstable. In fact, the second that she takes him, she's like yelling at the truck driver and things like that. Like, she is just not the right person to take care of Ian. And Ian, of course, isn't really normal right now, so he doesn't realize that. But he needs to realize that, because she's not right to take care of Ian, even though Ian doesn't really see that right now. So I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go, and we'll see what happens there. So then we go to Mickey, Debbie, and Sammi, and I love this. As you guys know, I hate Sammy's character, so basically, this entire subplot is Mickey and Debbie trying to figure out what to do with Sammi in retribution for what she did to Carl and Ian. And of course, we're pointing at Mickey when he tried to mess with her moving boxes, but basically, Sammi has now left, and on the eve of her departure from the Gallagher household, and despite Fiona's demand that they stand down, because, Fiona says, let's not worry about it, let's just let her leave and do that, Debbie decides that she wants to actually roofie Sammy's orange soda, tie her up with electrical... This was pretty insane what she wants to do. She wants to tie her up with electrical clamps on her neck. This is just classic Debbie. I mean, Debbie's always been the psychotic one and the crazy one that comes up with all these schemes. I mean, this is nothing new. So, she wants to tie her up with electrical clamps on her nipples, and to Debbie's surprise, Mickey actually already roofied Sammi, except they go downstairs and find out that she's actually dead. Yeah, and she's actually dead, and I was like, oh, they actually killed off Sammi? Is this actually happening? Is this actually happening to me? I was really happy that they did that, because as you guys know, I've wanted Sammi dead from the start, but, I mean, well, since they turned her into this crazy bitch, I've wanted her dead. But basically, the difference in Mickey and Debbie's approach to this murder, Debbie is absolutely, they both have very different reactions here. Debbie is freaking out, while Mickey's cool and nonchalant about it, and Mickey asks if she has a hacksaw, and Debbie puts Liam to sleep. It's really fun. It was actually really funny what they do here. Debbie puts Liam to sleep before putting Sammy's corpse into the moving crate she's ordered outside the home. However, Sammy's not actually murdered because we see that as it gets taken away, a burst of shouting and knocking from within us tell us that she's alive, and she is still alive, which we can tell because she's in the promo next week, and there's no way that Sammi is dead. Now, how do I feel about this? How do I feel about Sammi not being dead? Obviously, I'm upset that Sammy's not dead, but I like where this is heading. It looks like she's going to get revenge on Mickey. I'm interested in seeing where this is going to go, and I think it honestly is classic. That's just classic Debbie and Mickey. It's obvious that they do that, and I thought that was really well done overall, and I definitely really enjoyed that plot. I thought it was really, really funny what they did there. So, I really like that. So now we'll go to Lip. Now, Lip, for a lot of the episode, he is with Fiona and all of them, but he did have his own individual plot this week. He's officially replaced Amanda with Helene. You can tell he has replaced Amanda with Helene, because Helene is now with him, and she basically leaving Lip's dorm for her walk of shame. Helene is basically taking care of him in every way, sexually, and in fact, she's even arranged for Mr. Helene to drive Lip up to the military base where he's going to visit Ian, and Lip tentatively accepts it, but most likely immediately regrets when he realizes the professor drives a Vespa. So on the professional front, Helene's invited Lip to a cocktail party that evening so she can introduce him to a friend of hers who works at an aerospace lab, and it's being thrown around the corner from Lip's house, but the Gallagher household is not, it's not there. So he's all, in a suit and tie and everything, and he politely butts heads with the host, who's making a show of Lip's neighborhood, and he's, butting heads with him and everything, and he excuses himself for a smoke when he encounters Norbert, who is Helene's friend. He's in the bushes and everything, and he's seemingly sloshed, and the two hit off right away, and as we can tell from a fun and games montage, that there's only good news ahead for this new mentorship, and a possible job, too. The only foreseeable drama is Lip's internal struggle against having to choose the new road that Helene's leading him down, and the old one that loyally leads him back to the South Sides when he and Helene come face to face with Kevin V in the street, which I will get to Kevin V's plot right now. You can definitely see that Lip is kind of upset about making this choice, because, I mean, his best choice would be to stay with Amanda, but that's not what he's doing. He's at a crossroads where no matter what path he takes, forging the future and honoring his past are mutually exclusive decisions. So, I really do like what they did there. I think that was a really good plot overall, and I just want to figure out what choice he really wants to make there. So, we'll see what happens. Now, finally, we're going to talk about Kevin V, which Kevin V this week, I really thought it was really funny what they did with Kevin V in this episode. I thought it was definitely very funny, and I definitely really enjoyed it. So, basically, after Kev returned to V last week, it turns out V has learned that Kev not only came home as a result of being kicked out of the dorms, and not out of the virtues of his own heart, pining to mend his relationship with V. But Kev tries to explain this, but she won't listen. And we see that he's not back for her. He's back because he wanted to come back. And basically, a broken pipe of the alibi room forces Kevin V to air their grievances as they work to fix the leak together. And almost immediately they decide they're even when it comes to Svetlana's wifely duties. I love when they're arguing over it, and they both leveled the playing field, but when V confesses that she wanted a date, Kev is pretty heartbroken, and when Kev confesses that he slept with multiple college co-eds, V is also really upset. So, and you can really see that these two still care about each other, and it was really well done the way they did that. And the water pipe finally comes close to full repair, and Kev pulls back his pride and tries to apologize, and V admits that their entire breakup was because she felt alone, that Kev didn't want to sleep with her. And suddenly the water pipe bursts again, it rains down on Kev, who's staying in the downpour straight out of a romantic comedy, and it's really sweet overall. She melts the sweetness of the gesture, they have sex on the pool table underneath the mist, and they're back together now, which I love seeing. I like seeing that they got back together on their own. I like that no one actually got them back together, is that they just worked it out on their own, which is what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see someone force them to work it out. I wanted to see them work this out on their own. I'm happy they did. So overall, guys, a pretty solid episode. By far best episode of the season. Absolutely love it. Let's talk about Frank for a second. I don't know what Frank's going to do with Bianca. He needs to understand that even though Bianca, cares about Frank, he's not her, she doesn't love him. She's not in love with Frank. She cares about Frank, but she's not in love with Frank. So I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go. Ian and Monica. Obviously, Monica cannot take care of Ian, but he doesn't know that right now, and it looks like the finale is going to be absolutely crazy. I don't know exactly where we're going, but it looks extremely crazy next week. I can't wait to see what happens. So many possibilities for what could happen in the finale. It seems like there's going to be a death, and if anyone dies, it's probably going to be Sammi. I'm calling it now. Sammy's going to die in the finale. She didn't die. They thought she died, but she's probably going to die in the finale. I could see it happening, and just the fact that I don't think they really know what to do with Sammi anymore, I could definitely see her dying in the finale, but we'll have to see what happens. Overall, guys, what did you think of this episode? As I said, best episode of the season. Absolutely love this episode. And that's also, who is Fiona going to choose? Sean or Gus? She needs to make a decision there, because there's only so many decisions you can make there, but we'll see what happens there. That's my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for the season of House of Lies. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.